Welcome back to James's Small Engine Repair and More. And for today we have a Husqvarna 435. We'll be going through this one here. As far as I know, it runs. He just needs me to go through it and service it for him. So far I've replaced the purge bulb. Purge valve that was in it was no good, and it was broken. And the chain had a lot of sag in it, so I've tensioned the chain on it, double checked to see if there's fuel in it, and that the fuel had color to it, so it should be mixed fuel. And we're ready to go. We'll fire this thing up. It looks like it has compression, but we're gonna fire this thing up, see how it runs, and see what we need to do to get it serviced for him. Compression's pretty good. It'll be holding its own. Alright, the way it's acting, probably need to go through the carburetor. So we'll start tearing this down a little bit and get the bar pulled off, get the top cover pulled off, and I'll bring it back after that and we'll take a look at the carburetor. Alright, so this assembly here for the carburetor, this is your intake section that your air filter hooks to, and that's your little clip that holds it in place. Well, the bulb and the trigger are kind of like all pieced into one, and the kill switch and choke and all. I took this off just so I can get some see a little bit better and make myself a little more room. And then this little piece here, you pop it out. It kind of sits on there like that, and it clips on. I'm not going to push it down the rest of the way because it'll snap into place, and I'll need both hands to get it again. But it comes apart like that, and that's what releases your trigger assembly, so you can get it out of your way and be able to move this section here. You can either just set it off to the side, or you can sit there and try to wiggle that out of your way. But I got a feeling that it will be easier to do that after we get the whole thing out of here. So I thought I'd just show you that little tidbit. And I think I might even have to remove this primer bulb I just put in, just so I can get the clearance I need, because I might not be able to shove it that way far enough to clear the hole that it sits in. So it's a bit of a pain. I'll bring you back in a couple minutes. All right, so how I ended up getting this out of here was I ended up shoving it that way first toward the flywheel side, and then I was able to cock this corner around, which would bring the primer bulb out of its hole, and I was able to bring it out, and then I could lay it to the side like that, and then I could sit there and pull my wires off, and they're laying right down there. and now it's free. A little bit of finagling to do, but you'll get it. Now the carb should be fairly free. There's a little clip right there that holds the carb and it hooks onto that little shoulder right there. And by the way, this is a Strato saw. So it's a newer version, a newer style saw. We'll pop this fuel line off right here. And it might squirt, we'll see. Oh, not too bad. And there, we got the carb out. I'll tear that down, see what the diaphragm looks like and the fuel pump looks like on it. And once I get it cleaned up and pulled apart, I'll bring it back and we'll take a look at it. All right, so I got the carb off and got it opened up. And it's just 4 bolts on the top here. Holds this section off. All right, that's all it does. Hold the section on. I got it opened up. I'm not able to see it, but maybe you can hear it. If you hear that, that's just a dried out rubber diaphragm, and just starting to get papery, and she's no good. So we'll pull this off of here. I don't think I have this style here, so I'll probably have to order them a kit. These diaphragms should be soft and pliable. They should not sound like paper when you rub your finger or something across it. And if they do sound like that and they're stiff, replace it. So let me check my little kit. That's a Zama carburetor, and I usually keep a couple boxes here. And basically what it consists of is leftover kits. And there's my Wahlberg kit right there on top. Shouldn't need that one. This is a Zama carburetor. Excuse me. And this is my Zama kit. And let's see if we can get lucky and have the one I need, and I do not. So it is a square type. It's got a couple extra holes over here, one extra hole over there, and as you can see, the button in the middle there is the short button, not the long button like that one. So we'll have to look it up, find the right kit for it, and get one coming. In the meantime, I'll go through the rest of the saw, get it cleaned up a bit, and we'll take a look at the intake side, make sure there's no issues going on there, and get myself a parts list. His air filter seems to be in pretty good condition. It's just one of those nylon ones, and these filters are designed to come apart. Right there, see those 2 tabs there? You can usually take your fingers and just go like this with it, and it pops apart like that. And and you just clean it. So the air goes this way, you want to clean it and blow it that way. I do notice a little bit on this one here, that down in the center of the intake there, as you can see, there's a little bit of debris. So I'm going to take a good look on the intake side, just to make sure there's no scoring or anything on the piston on the intake side. And we'll get that cleaned up real good, and we'll have it ready to be reinstalled. All right, we're going to take and got the air filter all cleaned up, and got it all put back together. It's good to go. So let's go ahead and pull the muffler off, take a look inside, see how things look there. Clean the muffler if we need to, which we probably will. Take a look at the exhaust port to make sure we don't have to do a carbon cleaning on it. So when this comes off, this aluminum plate goes up against the cylinder, and typically this is a soft aluminum, and then your gasket on that, and your muffler will go against that. So it looks like this exhaust muffler is also a hollow can, which is nice. It has a fairly small hole in the top of it. Maybe get the tip of my pinky in it, about it. It's got a screen here. And if we were to do a muffler mod on this, we might be able to we might be able to do something maybe on the front corner. Might be able to do something off the front corner. Can't go straight off the side here. This brake arm is in the way. Well, I think we'd come off the corner if we wanted to. And the exhaust is fairly clean inside. There's not a whole lot of debris in there. But I do want to pull the screen, take a look at that, clean it if necessary. I know probably most areas, if not all, if you are using these saws for logging, it is mandatory for the screen to be in place. Even if you have a modified exhaust, like maybe you built a pipe for it or something like that, you still have to have a screen for that. And it wouldn't be too hard to make one. That screen is pretty clean. I'm not going to worry about burning it. It would be nice to get that hole opened up a little bit more. But in order to do that, I got to open up the can which wouldn't be too big of a deal. It'll take me about 5-10 minutes to get the can open. And what I like to do when I'm opening up an exhaust pipe or exhaust muffler, there's a lot of people, they'll take a saw or a sawzall or a die grinder or something like that and just cut like that. Well, first, to me, it looks like crap. Looks like you didn't care and you just chopped right through it. I take a little more time and I just grind that lip, and by the time you run a few passes through there, you'll start to see a shadow line right down the middle of that. That means you get ready to break through, and that'll peel off real easy. And you do that all the way around it. All right. Once you've done that all the way around it, you peel that off of there, and the two halves will come apart. When the two halves come apart, you can do what you want on the inside. And in this case, if I were to do something with this, I'd have access to get to that hole at the top, and I just run a drill right through it to open it up a little bit more. And when I do my exhaust mufflers, I usually use these little step drills. They work out really nice on this. And I would use this drill also if I were going to do a little pipe out the side here. And just come in the corner of it like that. And it got the little starter tip on it, so if it does dance around too much, just center punch it. Well, about the only thing I'm going to do to this one is, if you can see here, this section here, at the last minute, it takes and tips down like that to restrict that hole. We're going to take these duckbill pliers and we're going to try to peel that open up a little bit and see if we can't make some clearance there. So keep in mind on how small that gap was. And now look at it, it's much more room there. More exhaust can get out of there. More heat can get out. Now your only restriction here is going to be that little small hole on the inside that you can barely get the tip of your pinky in. But it's up to him if he wants to do a muffler mod on this or something like that, and then we can. But for time being, we'll set that right there. We'll put the screen back in here. Put that screw back in. So the nice thing about these Husqvarna, and I think Steel does it too, but nobody used to do it. So these little screws, they would just thread a little spot in here, and these little screws would go into the opened area of the exhaust, and it would just get gummed up and crudded up, and heat would get to them and stuff like that. Now, these are captive. So it's a formed hole there, and they just thread the hole, so you know, nothing can get to it now. It's got its own threads out of the way, which is kind of nice. All I do with those is just put a little, either some oil in that threaded area, or maybe a little tiny bit of Never Seas. I'm just going to drip a little bit of oil in there. So it makes them those screws a little bit easier to get in and out now that they've done it that way. Before they did it that way, it could be hard to get those screws out of there. Sometimes you'd even break them off, which didn't bother most people, but not that big of a deal. All right. that's small. There is, it looks like scoring. Let's see if it's scoring or staining. Got a little pick here. I'm going to gently run that across there and see what I feel. I'm not trying to gouge nothing, but gently rub across it. And it feels smooth to me. It's not catching anything. And it does have pretty good compression. And it does look like, yep, I do. So I can still see some of the machine marks. I mean, there is some marking on it. Well, that's a little bit of a catch there. Right down the center of it, so, you know, I'm wondering if somebody is just firing these things up and just gunning it and putting it to work right away, which is not good. There's this thing called cold seizure, and basically that's when you fire something up at a cold start and just start putting it to work right away without letting it warm up a little bit. And you know, the cylinder metals and the piston metals are not exactly the same, and not only that, they're different sizes, so they heat up at different rates. So that piston's smaller, so it's going to get warmer faster. And if you don't give it time to warm up, and you just fire this thing up and just start laying it into the wood, that piston could heat up faster than that cylinder and cause it to get a little too friendly with the sidewalls, and next thing you know, you're scraping metals together and you end up with a scoring piston and a scoring cylinder. So warm your saws up. Warm up everything. You know, a weed eater, a chainsaw, a backpack blower, or a handheld blower. Give it it doesn't take long, 30 seconds or so, depending on the temperature. You might want a minute if it's, you know, dead of winter or something like that for a saw, but give it a little time to warm up a little bit, and everything should be fine. Now, some of your older saws, and maybe this saw too, I didn't paint no mind, but sometimes this little area right here is opened up on it anyway. And what I do is when I'm warming my saw up, I put my finger on it, and when my finger starts to get warm or uncomfortable, I know this saw is warm enough, and it doesn't take that long. So, just a little tip, let your stuff warm up. Same way with your cars. Same thing happens with them. You need to let them warm up a little bit. A lot of your manufacturer says that a lot of your today's vehicles, you don't need to let them warm up. Well, what I think they mean by that is that back in the day when they had carburetors and chokes, you had to let them warm up a little bit or drivability was horrible. Today with computerized cars and electronics, fuel injection and stuff like that, the computer is constantly adjusting for the temperatures and things like that, so you can literally start up a fuel injected vehicle and pretty much go. But you don't really want to do that because you still need to get time for that oil to get picked up out of the pan and distributed. And again, the piston is going to warm up at a different rate than the cylinder wall, and just starting that thing up and throwing it in gear and going could cause some damage to your car over time. So a car that should last you 150,000 miles or more may only get you 80, 100,000 miles or something like that, which is still a lot. But I do know a guy who every vehicle he ever had, eventually started smoking. And when I watched him leave the parking lot every day, he'd hit that key, and before that vehicle got completely started up, he was throwing it in gear and hitting the gas. And every one of his vehicles always smoked. All right. So I'm going to put this muffler back on. Like I showed you earlier, you're going to stack it. This goes up against the cylinder, your gasket after that, and then your muffler. And what I like to do, which helps out a little bit, is I'll put my screws through there and I'll stack it on, and I kind of like dump it into place. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done. I'll bring you right back. I've got my compression tester hooked up. We're going to see what kind of compression this thing has. We're at about 120. Takes about 100 psi. Oh, is it 100? Yeah, I think it's 100 psi to support combustion, I do believe. So we're well above that. We already know it does run. Just needs a carb kit. So far. Just thought I'd show you that. And I'll bring you back in a little bit. About the last thing I can do with this saw for now, until I get the carb built, is we're going to go ahead and clean up this bar. We're going to go ahead and dress it, and I'll show you what I do for that. I think I may have showed you in a couple videos ago, but I'll show you what I do. Go over some tools. So this here is for dressing the rails. Basically, you run that across your saw, and it takes your rails and trues them up. So that way they're not like this, or they're not, you know, shaped like a ditch. It brings everything back in for you. And then pretty much a flat file. Nice flat file. I'm going to go across your bar like so, because over time your bar will roll that edge right over, and you'll start to get a little bit of peel, and you can catch your finger on that as you go across there. You want to clean that up, and once you've done that, we'll go over the top of it with our file here, and that will true the your rails up. And you need true rails, because without true rails, if your rails are offset or like this, or they're ditched out like that, and your chain can move around and walk too much. And if your rails aren't true, they're like this instead of parallel with each other, then it could also cause your bar to cut crookedly. And so a little bit of bar maintenance can go a long ways for you. You can allow the bar to last a lot longer, because this groove here in this bar is pretty deep, and a bar can last you a long time. We'll check the sprocket here. Sprocket has very little play, not enough to really worry about. Turns pretty easy. keep up with the bars. It doesn't take a whole lot to get that edge off of there. You know, a couple swipes can usually take care of it. All right, we'll flip it over. We'll start working the other side. All right, so you can see a nice shiny line across here where I've gone across and got that burr off of there. We'll clamp this up in the vise, and we'll clean up the rails and get them cleaned up and squared away. So basically, this side here just runs right down the bar itself, and then the file goes across the top edge. So you need enough of the file sticking out to hit both sides of that rail. Just run her down her. Just run it right down to the end. And just take a good look at it. You'll see that it's you know, both of your rails are nice and shiny. You know that you got them cleaned up. If you got a couple dull spots in there, you might need to take a few more strokes. What I like to do is I like to switch and go down on the other side. It's just what I like to do. Flip the bar over. Do the same thing on the other side. And this is just simple hand tools that you can get fairly cheap. I think this thing was like, I don't know, maybe 20 bucks if that. All I do is well, I tell you what, that compressor knows right when to kick in. there's other tools out there that you can use. I know there's people out there that'll take and run these on those little belt sanders. They'll take that and they'll lay it on the table and they just run that bar right across there like so, flat on the table, and run that edge right down that sanding belt, and that works really well. And there's other tools out there that are designed when your rails start to spread and you're starting to get too much play in your chain, or the rails start to wear on the inside. There's tools in there that are designed to pinch that rail, and then you kind of crank it and it rolls right down the bar to pinch that back together with. And, I don't have nothing like that, and probably won't ever get anything like that, but this stuff is out there for people to use. Basically just take sorry about that. Well, that's it for tonight. I've done just about all I can do on this saw today. Got everything boxed up. Got my parts list. And I'll talk with the man, see what he wants to do, and get the stuff ordered for him and get this saw back to him. I appreciate you visiting my channel, James Small Engine Repair and More. Hope you keep coming back. If you like the content that I'm doing and you like the videos and all, give me a good thumbs up, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think, and just say hi, whatever you want to do. Have a good evening. Be kind. Help people when you can.